All right, guys, I'm sitting here with Jarrod from Jarrod's Tech, who, unless you guys have been under a rock, is one of the most prolific gaming laptop reviewers out here on YouTube. And it's great to be here with you, Jarrod. So good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
And we've got some really cool topics we're going to discuss today. So we're going to start off by talking about all the things you should be aware of when buying a gaming laptop. Then we're going to get into our specific recommendations of the best 14-inch gaming laptop, the best budget gaming laptop. So you're definitely going to want to hang tight for that. We will put timestamps if you want to jump ahead, but we do think you probably want to watch this beginning bit when we talk about some of the gotchas. And guys, we're heading into the Black Friday and Christmas buying season, the holiday season. This is the time where honestly you're going to find some really, really good deals. So hopefully we're providing you with the information that you need. Jarrod's going to have a ton of videos coming out on his channel leading up to that period. So will I. So obviously make sure you subscribe to Jarrod's. Link will be down below, and obviously us over here. And any of the laptops we talk about today and recommend, those will be down below too. So with that said, Jarrod, let's get into the first question. Gaming laptops, Jarrod, what should people watch out for when they're buying one?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is probably VRAM. It feels like I'm kind of a broken record at this point. You know, everyone's talking about VRAM, but yeah, that's because it's an important thing. Like, you've shown that 8 gigs isn't enough in games. I've shown that 8 gigs isn't enough. I think it's something definitely worth thinking about, especially if you're looking at like an RTX 5070 kind of deal, because the next step up is the 5070 Ti, and that takes you from 8 gigs to 12 gigs. And the problem with 8 gigs is a lot of laptops, gaming laptops in particular, that have 8 gigs of VRAM, they also ship with 2560 by 1600 screens, so 1440p. And those higher resolutions just demand more VRAM. It depends on the game and the settings you use, but generally speaking, in modern games, it is pretty easy to go over that 8 gig limit in modern games. Even at 1080p, it can be an issue. Again, it depends on the game. But yeah, I think that's the one to watch out for. Especially with some of the 5070 laptops, they're so expensive that if you just shop around, you could potentially get a 5070 Ti laptop for about the same price with a good deal. It's a bit of a different story if you're looking at 5050, 5060 kind of laptops. Those still have 8 gigs of VRAM as well, but you know, if that's your budget, you can't really jump up to the 5070 Ti. So unfortunately, you're kind of stuck, and you would just have to be aware of those VRAM limits going in.
And I think it's hard for people to tell as shoppers that the 5070 Ti is such a big jump from the 5070 because of that.
Yep.
And obviously also, more wattage tends to be fed to them.
Yep.
Which means, more frames, more performance. And certainly when I've been wandering around like a Best Buy, and I've actually spoken to buyers about this, and the average buyer, they just see 5070 Ti. It doesn't click to them that it's such a big difference, and oftentimes they don't write the VRAM down, nor do they know about it. So yeah, I totally concur. And I think what my team would say as well about this is it's not like, the way I see it is it's not the end of the world to buy a 5070 laptop. But what happens is you're kind of restricting what you can do on it. So you kind of force that you need to run on medium or more high settings so you don't get as affected by VRAM, particularly on the laptops, as you said, with the high resolution screens, that 2560 by 1600. And that's just a choice that you shouldn't be forced to make. Like, it is capable of doing, say, high on 2560 in a lot of games. So yeah, I concur with you. Budget gaming laptops. Someone's on a tight budget, wants a really good gaming experience. What would you recommend to them?
So for me, it's still the same laptop I've been recommending for the last few years, and that's just Lenovo's Lock. So we've compared most of the budget options, and the Lock consistently comes out ahead, mostly in terms of build quality. Its GPU wattage I don't think it's full, but it's definitely up there.
It is.
Like the 5060 version we covered, I think it was like 105 watts. So it's almost the full 115. And it still gets premium features like G-Sync and Advanced Optimus. So many budget options, they might have Advanced Optimus, but then they won't have G-Sync. A lot of them won't even have Advanced Optimus.
Like the new Omens don't have either.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think like the Gigabyte A16, which would be competition, I don't think that had Advanced Optimus.
That also has the really bad screen.
Yeah, and there's a couple of others that don't have just those premium features you get with the Lock, basically.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I we both kind of prepped for this and wrote our notes. I have the exact same laptop, right?
Okay, and I didn't know what you were going to say in advance either, so this is coincidental.
Yeah, so I just think that it stands out where a lot of laptops at that price point, you just have gating issues, whether they're the premium features. I wouldn't call them gating, but they're missing, right, on a lot of these cheaper ones. But the ghosting of the A16, the A16 as well, for instance, Gigabyte's gaming A16, we noticed our 5060 version performed worse than our 4050. And we were shocked at that. Obviously, we've raised it with Gigabyte. They haven't addressed it yet. So something is materially wrong. And what we found was once you're at this very budget price point, I mean, you've touched the Victus, right? You've used the Victus. I think have you got a review out on it already?
Yeah, it went out like a few days ago.
Okay. So I just feel like the quality of the build of the Victus, it's very flimsy, that lid, right?
Yeah, it's very flexible.
Yeah. And whereas I think the LOQ, it's just a really solidly built laptop. Now, you pay for it in weight. It's not a light laptop, that one. But I agree. Like, I think it's solidly built. It doesn't trip up on little things or big things. And it also, as you said, like getting the wattage right to the GPU means you're getting a really good gaming experience.
And I think it's also worth keeping in mind that with these more budget options, like even with the top of the line premium stuff, no laptop's perfect. There's always going to be compromises, but that's going to be more so the case with these cheaper options. I think it's just the case that the Lock has fewer compromises than the others. So we're not saying the Lock is the perfect laptop. It's going to be great. We're saying it's not as bad as the other ones. It's the best. It's the better choice out of what's available, I suppose.
I agree. Like, I know Sierra likes that little MSI. What's it called? The
Cyborg?
No, the thin. The
thin, yep.
Yeah, but that's obviously doesn't. I don't think it feeds its GPU anywhere near as much wattage.
Yeah, I think it's like 45 watts.
Yeah,
it's very low.
Yeah. But the benefit of that particular laptop is it's lighter weight, which some people might
quite
like.
Cheap.
Yeah, but it also doesn't have USB-C power, right?
Yeah,
it's going to annoy people. But yeah, so LIQ, that's it for us. Let's move on to the next one. So, all right, this is a great category. Now we're talking value for money. So we're stepping it up for the budget. You want the best bang for your buck when you talk gaming. What do you think?
So I think for me, I chose the Lenovo Legion 5. And that's mostly because recently the RTX 5060 version was on sale. I think it was on Walmart for like $950 US. It's like $950 USD for any full-powered 5060 is quite decent. But the Legion is like, it's more of a mid-range option, and it's a pretty solid one at that. You still get the OLED screen. I think it had a last-gen AMD processor, but, you know, the last-gen AMD stuff is still pretty decent today, especially at that price.
And just like that high-quality OLED display, and you've got that signature Lenovo keyboard, which is so good. We found on the Legion 5 or 5i that the keyboard isn't quite as good as like on the Legion 7i. It seems to be a very similar keyboard, but there's a little bit of deck flex compared to like Lenovo's more premium ones, which provides like a nicer typing experience, but it's still a good keyboard, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Now, what I went with here, actually, funnily enough, I went with the exact same thing. I went with Legion 5i. So we're 2 for 2 at this point. I just think, you know, we've got a lot of ones to go through, a lot of different categories, but I think Lenovo has done a very dominating performance in the gaming space in general, I think.
Me too. To the point where a lot of people question if we're sponsored by them. Like, Lenovo is one of the few companies that have never actually sponsored us or paid us anything. If anything, we probably go out of our way and spend more money buying their laptops to cover because they're popular.
Yeah, yeah. And what you guys, just a little bit of, you know, behind the scenes about YouTube and business in general, generally speaking, like people say we're Apple shills or something like this because when we recommend a MacBook, but the reality is in marketing, like Apple doesn't need to pay YouTubers to market their products. Their products are already good enough, and the same for Lenovo, right? It's the companies that have products that are not competitive that need to pay more for marketing. So when you see people recommending Apple, it's not because they're Apple shills. Believe me, Apple doesn't need to pay YouTubers, right? It's because they're good products. And I think people just need to understand that a bit. It's more the opposite end of where they pay.
I agree.
Like Lenovo, I don't think we are doing our first sponsored video for them around CES just to showcase their new products. We don't do sponsored reviews on our channel of laptops because I just think it's just disingenuous to what we do here. But when there's like they're announcing a new range, I'm happy to do a sponsored one of that one, and we're doing one around CES. But it's the same with you, right? We haven't been sponsored by Lenovo in any way. So let's move on to the next category then. Okay. This is another good category that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. What is the best gaming laptop for $2,000 or less? And I think that's a very important price point. I think a lot of people are shopping around that.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a look at historical deal prices to kind of see what had been available at this price so far. It is possible to get an RTX 5080 gaming laptop for under $2,000. You just have to find the right sale. Now, that said, a lower quality version like MSI's Vector 16 was like $1,950, so it's just under that. Although there was also an HP Omen Max 16 for just over $1,800 a few months ago with 5080. That was a crazy deal.
Incredible.
That was a crazy deal. That was a few months ago. Hopefully that comes around again for Black Friday, but I haven't seen it in months.
That's like one of my favorite gaming laptops, full stop, at any price point. So that's
it was
incredible.
A great deal.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So, assuming an $1,800 5080 Omen isn't the norm, for $2,000 or less, you'll probably be more likely looking at 5070 Ti tiers of performance. Again, it depends entirely on the laptop, but for that type of money, there are options like Lenovo's Legion Pro 7. I think that's probably closer to the 2,000 point. I know the Pro 5 has gone lower to more like 1,700. And at the end of the day, those two will perform much the same when it comes to gaming because they both have full wattage GPUs. You just get more features with the 7. So it depends if that has anything, that you're interested in, like the more flashy RGB and all that type of stuff. Depends how much you care about that. But yeah, I guess my answer is another Legion. All the other 5070 Ti options I like, generally, at least so far, they haven't really gone on sale too much below 2,000. So yeah, I suppose the options are either a budget 5080, maybe get a good sale 5080, or you can get a more premium laptop with a 5070 Ti.
Good one. All right, my turn here. So I think for value for money gaming laptop, I believe we've seen the Strix G16 with a 5070 Ti and that AMD Zen 5 3D processor go on sale below 2,000. And that is that really high, and it's basically the desktop Zen 5 processor in a laptop. I think we've caught that one below 2,000 on a sale.
That's literally this laptop right here.
Yeah. It's funnily enough, it's actually I don't think that this is the older chassis from last year. I think they might have done some pretty, some different typefaces or whatever on it, but it's pretty much essentially the same one. And it's a good laptop. Like it's a thick laptop. You got to be expecting that. And that means it's got huge cooling inside it. So your wrists are going to be raised up a little bit, but yeah, it's a great laptop.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm actually finishing my review on that Strix today, so I can talk about it. Same case with the last Strix I tested. There's actually very few downsides with it. Now, with the AMD versus Intel models, it is a bit crap that the Intel one is essentially redesigned and it has a bunch of new features. And the AMD one is using the last gen chassis, as you said.
Are you talking about the Strix Scar or the Strix?
Just Strix.
Okay.
So there is a bit of a chassis difference. But yeah, even with the old design, it's still pretty solid if you can get the right price.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed on it, I don't know if you've noticed on it, is they're under load. There can be a little bit of vibration that you feel through the chassis on the left side. That's what I noticed, but it's very minute.
I don't think I noticed that.
Okay.
But something I will note is the keyboard was exceptionally cold, even when under heavy load.
Yes.
And that applied to both of them. And the fan noise was not too bad either. So the fan noise was fairly standard for gaming laptops, so still a little loud.
Yeah.
But the keyboard was very cold.
We've noticed that as well. The Strix is unbelievable at cooling.
It's probably the lowest I've seen.
Yeah. And I think with the 5070 Ti, when you combine it with that AMD 3D processor, very nice. Very nice. The only other one I would mention, and the Predator Helios Neo 16S, like if you're looking for a really good high performance gaming experience, but you don't want something as thick as the Strix, because it is a thicker laptop, right? Like I don't love my hands being raised like that. Like we mentioned the Omen Max 16, I kind of like that one tapers a little bit down the back, so it's not quite, doesn't cut into you as much. Yeah. It's not that, I wouldn't say this cuts into you, but some people just don't like the feel of something, hitting up against their wrist. I'd say that Predator Helios Neo 16S, S means slim and Acer terminology for their gaming laptops. That one's pretty good. I think look, it gets hot. It has fan noise. It's a slim laptop. It's got your 5070 Ti in there, and they've got the Intel HX Arrow Lake HX processor in there, so you've got a nice, powerful processor. That one can regularly be found under $2,000.
Yeah, 1800, I think.
Yeah.
Might have seen it at least 19.
Yeah, I've seen it. I think 18 as well. Yeah. And that one, great gaming experience on that one. You got a beautiful OLED display. The only big issue that we've seen with it is it can't lower its screen resolution to 60 hertz, so its battery life is just atrocious. But then again, my 2 cents, unless, like, there are some, and we'll talk about them, some gaming laptops that do give you good battery life, but most of them, the bigger ones, you're going to be wanting to bring a charger with you anyway. So even though it sounds terrible not lowering it to 60 hertz, I think it's not. I don't know. What do you think? I don't think it's like a...
Personally, I always bring a charger with me anyway, so I don't think it's a big deal. I also agree. I think the Helios is great. I guess I will note that as a thinner machine, it isn't a full wattage GPU, so the Strix would perform a bit better in games. But I mean, it's still got the 5070 Ti, so you're still getting the VRAM, and it's still around 100 watts, so it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah. All right, next one. Let's jump in. Okay. Balls to the wall now we're talking about. What the most high-powered, best possible gaming experience on a laptop. What do you think?
So based purely on the data and not just my thoughts, that would have to be, at least out of what we've tested so far, Lenovo's Legion 9. So another Legion, but this one is an 18-inch model, so it's quite thick. It's very chunky, but that also means that it's able to pump up that power because it's got more space for cooling, so you can get more performance. It's the trade-off between bigger laptop and, yeah, bigger laptop, better cooling, more performance, but also heavier, worse battery life, that type of deal. Although that said, if I recall, I'm pretty sure in our battery testing, the Legion 9 had the best battery life out of all the 18-inch models we've tested, so that's something at least. But yeah, the power is just very high. Like raw CPU power in Cinebench, it's up there. Gaming performance, smashed all our records. I'm not 100%, but I remember Brandon from the Gizmo Slip Tech channel did a video about how Lenovo might be shunt modding their RTX 5090 GPUs.
Good video.
Yeah. So
we'll link it down below if you guys want to see it. I mean, do you want to explain what shunt modding do? Or you're about to, I guess.
essentially just it's a mod so that you can give the GPU more power. But that power isn't, if you open hardware info, it won't actually get reported. So the only way to really identify it is to like measure the power at the wall. But yeah, just the fact that the Legion Pro 7 and 9 are like at the top of the charts in games compared to other 5090s and other laptops with the same specs, it kind of, makes us think, are Lenovo doing something here to, juice the performance a bit, which, is good for you. But yeah, that might be why it's ahead.
That's interesting. That actually, we were offered to review that one, but we just haven't got around to it yet. So we haven't actually reviewed that one. The one I thought out of the ones that we've reviewed, actually, I'm going to step back 2 seconds. Totally agree with you. I personally find gaming on an 18-inch laptop, it just is so much more immersive.
The screen is so good.
Oh,
I hate taking it anywhere, but games do look better on the bigger screen.
Really. And funnily enough, my team and I, we've had a bit of a debate about this, like why wouldn't you just buy a desktop? And I used to live in New York in a small apartment for a long period of time. In those kind of spaces, like for most of my New York experience, I didn't have room to even have a desk, right? It would be on my dining room table. I don't want to have a giant desktop on my dining room table. Yeah. So 18-inch was a great option for me. And then even when I did have a desk, it was so small that you couldn't really fit it. So I actually think there is a market. I personally believe there is a really good market of 18-inch gaming laptops. And just as an avid gamer myself, like I certainly notice the difference even in League when I'm gaming on a 16-inch display versus an 18-inch, so much easier on an 18-inch display, I find. My KDA is just so much better.
And yeah, we get comments on our 18-inch videos of people who are like truck drivers or they go and work on an oil rig, the type of deal where you do need portability, but you're not carrying it around every single day.
Yeah.
You might take it with you once a week or something, and then at least you've got that option of bigger screen and performance.
And we notice as well, like in those bigger chassis, those 18-inch chassis, just the cooling is so much better. Like the one I was going to mention is actually Dell's Alienware Area 5118. That was my pick. We just noticed even going from the 16, the Alienware 16, it feels warm. But once you jump up to the 18, the warmth is just not an issue.
Yeah.
And so we found that Alienware 18 we really like that one out of the 18s that we've tested so far this year. I don't know how you feel it compares performance-wise to the one you just mentioned.
I think it's pretty good. It's definitely up there. I think the Legion is a little ahead, but then at the same time, when we're talking about full-powered 5090s, they're all within a few frames of each other. Like, who's going to really notice?
And that's what Jarrod's saying is a very important fact here. One of the reasons we picked the Alienware 18 is it's got like a rounded edge. For these thicker gaming laptops, it's very rounded and very soft. You might want to forgo just a couple of extra frames for a more comfortable gaming experience. So it's got that, which I found quite unique. Does the Legion is it rounded at all in the front?
It's not rounded, but it doesn't like dig into you either. I know what you mean though. The Alienware has like that like pillowed finish or whatever.
It's really
they call
comfortable.
It. It's very rounded, yeah.
So I think there's things like that you've got to consider. Also, the Alienware obviously has that Cherry MX keyboard. Do they have a mechanical one on the Legion 9?
No. But the Alienware 18 I reviewed didn't have the mechanical either. I think it's like an optional upgrade.
It is. We had it in ours, and it makes this ring with a lot of these mechanical ones when you quickly, run your fingers across it. But if you're in gaming and you're running the sound anyway, you're not going to hear the ring. And that Cherry MX keyboard it's very good to type on in gaming. So that's my one, and I guess I'm forgoing those couple of extra frames for those kind of creature comfort things right there.
The only thing I wouldn't recommend out of those bigger machines is probably MSI's Titan. And that's, so you were saying the 18-inch, well, we're both saying actually that the 18-inch models are all cooler. For some reason, the Titan 18, it's the hottest laptop I've tested. It's even hotter than like 16 and 14-inch laptops. This makes no sense. And it doesn't even perform that great compared to the rest either.
I'm so glad you're talking about this one. I actually literally had a script partly written going why I'm not reviewing MSI's Titan 18. And it was, you've hit the nail on the head. How is it that warm? It's massive. Not only is it warm, guys, the other things that get me about it is it does have the edge that kind of cuts into you a bit because it is quite thick. And then the other thing as well, on the left side again, on that laptop, you do feel a bit of vibrations. It's not a lot, but if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you can feel the fans kind of vibrating through. And then I think they've got also the haptic trackpad is built into the palm rest.
I want to know how you feel about this. I think that touchpad is the worst touchpad I've ever used out of any laptop ever. I don't understand how that thing passed testing. I don't know. Part of me wonders if it's just me because I'd never hear anyone else complaining about it, but I think it's just garbage.
Yeah, no, I don't think I used it long enough, or I think I used it with a mouse because I was actually trying to replace my daily driver with it for video editing. And I have a couple of daily drivers. We'll get into that in a second, but I don't think I spent a lot of time on the trackpad. But I do have a contender for it. I have noticed across the board, particularly in Windows haptic trackpads, of which I believe this is one, right? Massive palm rejection issues. So what's happened is a lot of these Windows laptops have these giant trackpads. And even particularly in haptic ones, it's just dreadful. The only laptops I've seen that don't have palm rejection issues are the Surface Laptop 7 with its haptic trackpad. I know it's not a gaming one. And of course the MacBooks. Even the Razer Blade with its mechanical one, dreadful palm rejection. Unbelievably bad. Like, you should hear me and Sierra like writing scripts and like she can see me like all of a sudden I'm typing and then the cursor's like in a completely different place.
I didn't have that with the Blade 18.
Really?
I was trying to look out for it as well. I've got other problems with the Blade 18. Like right now, it's sitting on a black screen, but that's a different issue.
Yes. Maybe we were going to jump to, I think, the best 14-inch one. Maybe we should just then transition to the worst gaming laptops. What do you think? Worst gaming laptops?
Yeah.
All right.
MSI Titan.
Well, I guess, is that technically a gaming laptop?
I mean, I guess. The other thing I was thinking with that is they sort of downgraded it this year. It used to be one of the first 18-inch models with 4 RAM slots, which I feel like if you've got an 18-inch model, you got the space for the upgrades, but then they took that away.
Yeah, it's something special gone.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I think is amazing about the MSI Titan, that is its price. It's just so affordable. What do you think, Jarrod? $5,000 to $8,000?
something everyone can definitely buy. Use the link below. Buy today.
Yeah.
No, it's always one of the most expensive. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I think here in Australia it's like 11,000 AUD, and I think in America it's like 5,300, if not more.
Has anyone bought one? Could you guys post a comment down below if you've actually bought a Titan?
And they don't run sales either. It's so expensive.
It's crazy. And then like creators buy them are like, who? I don't know. Anyway, what have you got another one, or that's your?
No, that's not actually. That's not my serious pick. It was probably going to be the HP Victus, which is more of a bit of a different end of the spectrum. Yeah. My biggest gripe with that is so the thermals run cool, but the GPU, at least the 5060 we had, it maxes out at 80 watts. So the performance is nowhere near as good as the other 5060 laptops in the same price range. But it comes with a 200 watt charger, and like 200 watts is more than enough to run the 5060 at full power.
Why not?
So they could absolutely run the 5060 at full power. It would perform like all the other 5060 laptops. It would be decent for the money, but they just don't do it. And it's got the thermal headroom for it. And if they're not going to do that, cool, then ship it with a lower wattage charger, like 150 watts or something.
More portable.
Yeah, so it's more portable.
Yeah.
So it's in like this weird space where you get this big charger, but then you don't even get the performance that goes along with it. I mean, that's not really that big of a deal, but just pick one. Like, I don't understand how they ended up in this middle ground of being bad in both ways.
It feels like this kind of like artificial product management where I remember a while back, and they've kind of got a bit better with this. They wanted to have creator laptops and gamer laptops. And I remember arguing with this with, I believe it was the product management team at Alienware, that most people that I deal with, they don't just game. They program and they game, or maybe they do video editing and they game, or they like to browse the web and consume content and they game. And what they were doing back then, and they're still doing it a little bit to this extent, they'll put like slightly worse screens in terms of pixel density in the gaming ones. Now there's a limit, of course, like having low resolution obviously means you can get more frames out of the GPU. So there's a benefit to that. But they, like for instance, they would put less color accurate screens in the gaming ones versus the creator ones. Now they've kind of resolved that a bit, particularly in the more expensive ones. But it was kind of like this artificial line of it has to be a creator laptop or a gamer one. And it sounds like that's what they're doing here is, it's got to be a budget laptop. So we have to make it worse in some way, even though it's like just a limit that they could just deal with. And that's a big laptop. It could cool at a higher wattage.
I get the impression it's just so that they can, if you want more performance, you've got to step up to Omen.
Yeah, which is just ridiculous. And those aren't full wattage either. Oh, well, the Omen, the thicker Omen is, the slim isn't. We've had a couple of ones that are contenders here. I don't, as you know, the Nitro V16S, I wouldn't say it's the worst gaming laptop, but that one is the opposite situation. It's got like, the 135 watt charger. And
these two need to get together and sort it out.
And at least the one we had the older gen, I believe it was, Intel processor Raptor Lake, which just was never that power efficient to begin with. So you got low wattage, and that one had the worst battery drain while plugged in that we've ever tested. And we were discussing this before with Sarah, obviously, who's testing with you, that we saw even on their high mode. So if you bring it down to high, not ultra, a lot of the battery drain issues goes away. When you drop the mode, it doesn't, the performance mode that is, it doesn't draw as much power. But even on that laptop, in some games, even on their high settings, not the ultra settings in games, it still drains the battery a little bit. And I know you've got your review, you guys are kind of still testing that one, but I just feel like at the price point that the Nitro V16S is being marketed as, you could probably buy a Legion 5.
Yeah, I bought my Nitro, what's the name? V16S, yes, V16S. So many random characters. Anyway, ours was like 2,000 AUD, and you could absolutely just buy like a Legion 5 on sale for the same price.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's the Legion. It's definitely the lock. Actually, this was something I should have mentioned earlier when I was talking about how great the lock is. I think by default, when you order the lock, it comes with a 170 watt charger, and that can actually drain the battery under heavy loads. It's nowhere near as bad as the Nitro. And Lenovo does at least give you the option to bump the charger up to 245 watts for $15. So at least it's an option and you can fix it. I don't think these other brands offer alternatives.
Yes, this is a great point. the Nitro we tested with the Predator's bigger charger. It still didn't fix the issue. A lot of these, what we heard from one of our reps at one of the companies, is they do need to enable high wattage charging in the BIOS for this to accept it. And the Nitro, we tried the Predator's charger, didn't fix the issue. So it's you're kind of stuck with it if you get it. 135 watts, guys. The moment I pulled it out of the box, that is a very small charger for a gaming laptop. Have you ever seen something? I mean, maybe the Omen, even the Omen Transcend 14.
It's 140.
Yeah, that has more, and people were complaining about the wattage on that one.
And at least that one's a Type-C, so you can kind of understand the compromise.
And also it uses more modern processors. It's got Arrow Lake H, which is more efficient than Raptor Lake, right? So I think this leads to maybe our next question about our own laptops. I don't know what's wrong with me, and maybe I need therapy here on this, but I continue to use the Razer Blade 16 as my daily driver, and the swearing that comes from my office, all my stuff, there's this running joke that everyone knows when I'm on the Blade because you just hear it coming out of me. They've got the trackpad palm rejection is just out of control bad. Then you've got some people's trackpads obviously don't work at all. My favorite one with my Blade, because there's issues that come up all the time, so it's just like, what is the issue of the month with the Blade? My new one is when I close it and put it in my backpack and take it home, by the time I get home, it's cooked itself. And Windows laptops, particularly gaming ones, have always had, they've never been the best at this, but not a lot of them have it this bad anymore. I don't find. But the Razer Blade 16, I would say 50% of the time I close that lid, it is almost too hot to the touch after like an hour, 15 minutes. It is gets so hot. And I've seen online, the battery bloating and stuff like that. I'm getting worried. Like it's just constant issues. There was one time I was trying, it looks like it's waking from sleep, but it's got the black screen issue. I think you said you've had that on the Blade 18.
Yeah.
Just the army of issues and Razer not coming out. Like, remember with the Asus issue just recently? And Asus immediately said, hey, we accept that there's an issue out there. We're taking responsibility for it. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. Right, straight away. Razer doesn't even acknowledge these issues. And when you call them up on support, which I've done, they make you do this huge diagnosis, all of this stuff that is just unnecessary for issues that are just so freaking obvious with their laptops. And I was out of a laptop for, I think it was a couple of weeks that I was out of a laptop trying to get it replaced. Ended up forgetting to even send me back the replacement laptop. I had to remind them to do it. And I do love my Razer Blade 16. Many things about it. It's thin. It's pretty powerful. CPU choice is a bit iffy, I think.
The chassis feels great.
Yeah, the chassis feels great. The new keyboard is great. I like how all the ports are pretty much high speed. I mean, I don't think it doesn't have Thunderbolt 5 in the 16, but, there's a lot of really good things about it. But just, it is a laptop to get if you have a backup laptop. You got to have a backup if you're going to get a Razer. It's just too, like, people ask me, like, what should I get? Obviously, they ask both of us, what should they get? It's just, I feel, even though I use it, and I do, I feel so nervous recommending it. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever recommended a Blade. Even their sales, they're still not competitive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
They're expensive. Actually, I guess I'm doubling back here, but one laptop I think in that $2,000 price point that is worth considering is actually the Legion 7i. We talked about trying to get a 5070 Ti, even a 5080 below $2,000. But I think if you're just going for a very high quality laptop, like you just want a very premium feel, that's one we didn't talk about. That I think, yes, it's capped at a 5070, which kind of sucks, right? But it's just so premium feeling.
It is very nice. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's very nice. I think the thing is, you can either get premium 5070 like that Legion 7i, but if you're gaming, you can probably still get a decent laptop for about the same price, but with a 5070 Ti. So it just depends what your priority is, really.
Yeah.
Do you care more on the better gaming experience and it performing well over the next few years in modern games, or do you want like that nicer build quality, that ladder machine, that type of thing? It's just personal preference, really. But yeah, I do wish they offered the Legion 7i with 5070 Ti. I mean, the Zephyrus G16 does it. I don't think there's any reason that Lenovo couldn't have done that as well.
I agree. And I think, I think this year in particular for gaming laptops, it was a bit of a disappointment, I must say. It really was. Like, we should have seen the 5070 with 12 gig of VRAM. I
will be extremely surprised. I have no inside information or anything, but I'll be extremely surprised if there's not like some sort of super refresh at CES with bumping that 5070 up.
Oh, it's just stingy. It really is. It's like Apple with some of their, they just released this new MacBook Pro 14 M5, which comes in at, I believe, 1.5 grand or something, 1.6 grand with 512 gig of storage. I mean, come on. Like, what are we talking about here? It's ridiculous.
At least there's no more 8 gig of RAM.
Minor miracle on that one. But I think this kind of leads us actually to what laptops we actually use. And we're going to get back to some more gaming roundups in a second, but I think this just leads so nicely to that. What are you using for your laptops right now?
So I'm at home most of the time making videos. So for the most part, I do just use a desktop because, might as well get that power. But when I'm going traveling for whatever reason, whether that's just for fun or I'm making videos at an event like CES or Computex, for the last few years, I've been using the MacBook Pro 14 with M2 Max. I liked that a lot just because it was so thin and light and powerful, good battery life, very small charger, but I just have not been able to get used to Mac OS no matter what I do. I just can't do it. So I'm going back to a Windows laptop, and that was going to be the Asus Zephyrus G16 because I bought the 5070 Ti one to review, and I like.
Please tell me you got the silver model. So it looks so much nicer.
I can't actually remember. No, I don't think I did. You mean there's like the black one and then like the white one?
Yeah, it's like a brownie black. It's not very nice.
Yeah, no, I think I got the dark one. It was the only option.
Oh no.
Anyway, I bought that for the review and it was quite expensive. So I guess it's kind of like you with your Blade. You're like, if I'm spending all this money on it, I might as well use it type of thing. And I really liked the Zephyrus last year. It's one of the thinnest 16-inch options. So the portability was a major factor for why I used the MacBook. So that's one of the reasons why the Zephyrus wins for me. Just good performance, good build quality in a relatively portable and thinner package. Although that said, Asus also sent the ProArt P16, which is basically a Zephyrus, but it's the creator version. And that goes up to a higher tier GPU, and you also get the 4K screen. I haven't actually unboxed it yet or used it, but I suspect I will probably end up using that. But if not that, it would be the Zephyrus I bought.
Yeah, our team absolutely loves the ProArt for sure as well. Absolutely, that's a top one. I would say, from my perspective, me personally, I do like the Razer Blade 16, even though I've given it all this crap before. I feel kind of special when I'm using it. Razers just have this effect that you feel...
You've been drinking the Kool-Aid?
I don't know. It's kind of like those back in the days where the cool people would use the Macs in the coffee stores.
Right.
You just feel good using it. I don't know why. Like and it is usable. Like if I... This is so ridiculous. If I shut it down every time I close the lid, if I use it with a mouse, so I don't have to deal with the trackpad. If I plug it in when I'm using it and I don't have to deal with its bad battery, then it's a great laptop. The screen is very bright. I like how thin it is. It doesn't cut into my wrist at all. I'm kind of sensitive to that, the thicker laptops. The new keyboard is very comfortable. I don't like the small arrow keys that they're kind of wide. What they've tried to do is just have this like edge at the back of the bottom of the keyboard, this hard line that goes right across. So they've made the arrow keys really small, where I like Legion's approach with, say, the 7i, where the arrow keys are full size.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think the Legion 7i keyboard is the best keyboard that I've used because of that. Yeah. But I do enjoy using the Blade. I do. I do feel like part of the reason I'm saying it's my choice is, I am kind of stuck with it. Like I spent $4,000 on it. So, and that was our own money from the company. So, yeah. So I think Blade is what I'm using right now. I would say if I did it all again, I probably would go the Legion 7i. I'd go that over the ProArt. Obviously, Legion 7i, as we talked about before, it taps out at a 5070. I play mainly League. I would be frustrated because I'm planning to play Battlefield 6 and things like that. So it would annoy the crap out of me that it doesn't come with a better GPU. But I think it's a safer laptop than the Blade. And then the other laptop I'm using on a day-to-day basis, other than the Blade, is the MacBook Pro 14. Funnily enough, this is a gaming laptop video, so we've tried to hide the fact that the questions are actually on a MacBook Pro 14. They're just hidden behind this Strix. So
Gave it away.
yeah, which I thought was kind of pretty. I can't do a gaming laptop video and we've got freaking MacBook Pro 14. It's ridiculous. But yes, I do use the MacBook Pro 14, and I like it because it's got enough performance to easily edit our videos so I can watch them while I'm away. Great battery life. It doesn't have, the heat and fan noise is pretty much, it's really non-existent on it. Sure, if you're doing high performance compute for a while, it does happen, but on a day-to-day basis, you never hear the fans going or anything like that. It feels very cool to the touch. Battery life, though, I must say, in real world, I'm finding the M4 Pro, I've got the 14-core model, doesn't last as long as my M3 Pro 12-core model. And this is a gaming laptop video, so why am I talking about the Mac? But anyway, that's my other one. But you did too, so.
Yeah. I talked about how I converted back, so.
Oh, yes, true.
And before the Mac, I was also on a Legion 7i, which is also what you said, so.
Yeah. It's funny how there's a handful of gaming laptops that are just so good. They really do stand out. We've mentioned the Legion so much, and the G16. And by the way, guys, I don't know about you, Jarrod, but I think the G16 is such a better laptop than the G14. I find that G14 just always feels warm, where the G16...
It gets very warm, yeah. And it's also just, I don't know, I guess, as I mentioned, I'm coming from the 14-inch MacBook to a 16-inch, so I definitely appreciate the bigger screen. Like, portability is important for me, but yeah, the trade-off for the slightly lighter G14 I didn't feel was worth it compared to the bigger 16-inch screen, especially when I'm like editing a video and I'm in the hotel room like this over the little 14-inch screen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that the 16-inch is so much more useful, especially on this trip where I'm trying to compare like our PowerPoint test results on one side of the screen with our script on the other side of the screen to see if we've accurately described what's going on in our graphs. And just on a 14-inch screen, it's annoying. It's tough. That being said, I did fly here on economy, and I think there is no way I could have dealt with a 16-inch laptop opening up on that tray table.
Yeah, for sure. I've taken the 14-inch MacBook on quite a few international flights, and it has been very nice for that, especially with like baggage limits and stuff. And my bag is already full of camera gear and like near the weight limit, so cutting down on the laptop as much as possible is definitely beneficial.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. What do you think is the best 14-inch gaming laptop going around right now?
Yeah, so far we've reviewed the Blade 14, the Triton 14, Zephyrus G14, and we're about to start on the HP Omen 14, but from my understanding, it's basically the same as last gen, just with the newer GPU, so I'm not expecting that to...
A little bit better.
10
watts more GPU power.
That's something, but yeah, I guess it's not really enough to like, blow me away. But other ones we have tested, probably the Zephyrus G14, like it's the only one that can go above 5070 if you want the extra VRAM, at least it's an option. It's definitely expensive. That said, it has gone on sale. So the Zephyrus with 5070 Ti has gone on sale such that it is cheaper than getting a Triton 14 or a Blade 14 with a lower tier 5070. So you can get better graphics power, and it's got a more powerful processor for potentially less money in a great machine. As you mentioned, though, it can get pretty warm on the keyboard.
And that one, by the way, it's warm in a light use. If you're just writing a Word document, that is a warm laptop.
Yeah, so that's the downside of that. Though, as mentioned, you don't have to get it with the 5070 Ti. I haven't tested it with any lower tier graphics.
We have, it still gets warm.
Still gets warm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a metal chassis on a very small laptop. I'm not sure you guys know this, but with both the G14 and the G16 Zephyruses, the 5070 Ti, 5080, 5090 ones are like a millimeter thicker than the 5060, 5070 ones. But it's, because once you jump from the 5070 Ti to a 5060, 5070 in the G14, you're getting a thinner laptop. Yep. It's a millimeter or so thinner. So it just gets too hot.
Yeah.
The one I would say, and I didn't hear you mention this was like our sleeper hit in the 14-inch category, was the Asus TUF A14. It includes the Ryzen 7 350 processor, which is the new Zen 5 Ryzen 7 processor. It kind of nukes the integrated GPU from like the Ryzen 9 365, but the CPU performance is pretty good, and we found it pairs really well with like a 5060, 5070. that combination is probably our favorite combination. We've just felt like the Ryzen's, like in games, what tends to happen is CPU's performance is kind of throttled a bit, like it's power limited to allow more power to go to the GPU. We've found that one does very well at lower power levels, and that's what obviously this one has. The Asus TUF A14. It's also very, very light. It's very thin and light. It doesn't get as hot as the G14, which is really odd because the Zephyrus G14 is their more premium
because it's
laptop.
plastic, so it doesn't really transfer through. You don't feel it as much.
Yeah. And that one, it's a really nice laptop. It doesn't look that nice, like the Omen Transcend.
It looks like a gaming laptop.
Yeah. Like the Omen Transcend 14 is a much prettier laptop. That's actually my second pick, even though it's only 75-watt GPU. This keyboard is very comfortable, but that one does get very warm, like the G14 it does. The other one that I would say, which I'm excited to test when we get back to the office, is we've got the Acer Predator Helios Neo 14 in. That was our sleeper kind of 14-inch gaming laptop hit from last year. That one did get very warm and has fan noise, but it is, I believe it was a full wattage 4070 that was in there, our one last year. It also has a 14.5-inch display, and I find we've talked about the display size being a big factor in gaming. Any increase in display size from a 14-inch, it really does help. Even 0.5, it just feels better for gaming. The only negative about that on that laptop, I believe it was a 3.2K display, so the resolution is super high. But I'm interested to test that one. I haven't tested it, but that's the one. The new version is we've got waiting for me when I get back.
Yeah. The A14 is definitely good. The reason it didn't come to mind is because we're not covering it this year. We did cover it last year, though, with I think the 4060. And yeah, it was the lightest 14-inch. It's still the lightest 14-inch gaming laptop we've ever had, even lighter than the Zephyrus, which I guess because of that plastic build. But yeah, that's a nice option.
I believe we'll throw our battery results on screen, but I believe it had really good battery life.
Yeah, it was up there.
Yeah. That Ryzen processor does pretty well for that. Some gaming manufacturers, they just leave you in Optimus mode, which I think is a good mode because I think most gamers will just leave it in that mode. But some, like Asus, they do give you that option of completely disabling the dedicated GPU, like turning off Optimus and only running iGPU, which we've found gives you a little bit of extra battery life. And I believe that was one of the laptops that did.
Yeah, all the Asus laptops have that option.
Yeah. But not all gaming laptops do. There's a lot of manufacturers.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's, if I had to guess, it's probably like maybe a quarter of them have an option like that.
Yeah. So let's round the video to a close with, I think, a very key question. Now, we're coming to Black Friday. We're coming to Christmas. Obviously, if you want to buy any of the laptops we talked about today, the links will be below the video. But the big question is, do you think they should buy this year on one of these big sales that we're hitting in November or December, or should people wait?
Yeah, well, at this point right now, it's definitely worth, at the very least, I think, waiting till Black Friday and seeing what deals come up. After Black Friday, there's about just a bit over a month until we get to CES, which is when we would expect next-gen laptops to be shown off. In terms of gaming, that would probably just mean a CPU refresh. As for GPUs, we don't really know. As I mentioned earlier, kind of hoping that there'll be some more VRAM options. So with that best guess in mind, I suppose, if you're buying like a 5070 Ti and above, I think it's probably pretty safe to buy during the Black Friday sales. You're already getting that VRAM and there are good options out there. I suppose if you're looking at more of a 5070 type of laptop, potentially you could be better off waiting till CES, but at the same time, you're really rolling the dice there. We don't know for sure if NVIDIA's going to provide something with more VRAM or not. And then maybe you kind of get stuck and you don't end up getting a good laptop until there's another deal further down the track. I suppose, I don't know how long typical return windows are, because I know in Australia they're kind of garbage, but maybe you could buy Black Friday and then perhaps as the rumors start heating up to CES, you might still be able to return it.
That is I didn't think of that. That's an excellent point. In the US, the return windows normally do go past CES in January.
Okay,
so that's
that then.
I think you've really hit it. If you're in the US, absolutely, I think you should buy. Here's my 2 cents based on, we tend to see these cycles of gaming GPUs every 2 years, and we had one last year.
Yep.
Sure, there might be some extra VRAM, but I don't think we're going to see anything that much more material. We're not going to see like a complete redesign of the gaming GPUs this year. Highly unlikely.
It would best case be something that like slots in between what we've already got, but it's not going to be groundbreaking stuff.
That's right. Yeah. And I just think from what I've seen every year, the Black Friday and Christmas sales are so material. And I would actually say, I personally don't think you need to wait for Black Friday on the day. I think deals tend to break like a week or two before, and you're pretty safe in that time frame, especially if it's a popular laptop. Because what I found, the Black Friday day ones, they can be the ones that aren't that good, that they're just trying to clear stock. But I think if you're seeing a laptop that you're tracking their price and all of a sudden you see it drop by, say, 400, you're probably pretty safe. If you see it drop by 600, absolutely. I just don't think you see a better time of year to buy. My 2 cents, I would buy. And especially given what Jarrod just reinforced with the return windows in the US, you know, if you're buying from a Best Buy, or most of them have these long return windows around this time period.
Yeah,
I think you go for your life.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of like insurance in a way. Like you still get the laptop. If new stuff comes out and you want to change your mind, great, send it back. If not, then keep your laptop.
Yeah,
all good.
But I think people do need to remember what we saw this year, the new stuff announced at CES, it's still getting to us now. So you might be out of a laptop for, if you're planning to buy now and you think about waiting, you could be waiting for a year, right? I mean, we like seriously, a lot of these laptops, at least 6 to 9 months is not uncommon. I'd say actually fairly 4 to 6 months is probably not uncommon from CS announcements, but this year has been particularly bad. It's
been very delayed. We're only just now getting laptops from Acer, so presumably they're going to still be selling those next year with the same specs. Otherwise, why would they bother even putting them out this late into the year? Yeah,
it's crazy. So yeah, I'm definitely in the buy camp.
And with the dates, I have actually had some emails from different stores, because they kind of like tell us in advance when their sales are coming. Not always, but for the big ones like Black Friday, they do. And I've seen at least a couple of them refer to it as Black Friday week. So it's not actually just Friday. It's basically the whole week up to it. So as you said, you're probably going to see most of the deals like a week in advance, realistically.
Agreed. And we're going to put, like, you know, on our channel, we talk about this a lot, that, you know, we tend to put these good and great deal price points at which we recommend people buy. We're going to make them more aggressive towards the time, and we'll probably even do a video saying, hey, you know, approximately what should you be looking for a deal on a 5070 laptop at, a 5080, a 5070 Ti, that sort of thing. Like, this makes it a great deal and you should buy. And I think that's a nice note to say, you know, obviously, you know, big thanks for Jarrod to being here in this video. And you've got a ton, as we talked about at the beginning, Black Friday content coming out. You're going to help people shop as well. So obviously get subscribed to Jarrod. I'm assuming a lot of people already are if you're looking to buy a gaming laptop. But if you're not, make sure you do check out Jarrod's channel, which will be linked below. And also, obviously, we're going to have a huge amount of content as well on helping people shop and find the best deals leading up to Black Friday, because realistically, that's what we're doing here, both of us, right? I think we review a ton of laptops to try and help you find the right one and get the best deal.
Yeah.
So with that said, Jarrod, thank you very much, mate.
That's all right.
Appreciate it.
I mean, all I had to do was roll out of bed and come into this room. You had to come all the way from the US.
Yeah, 17-hour flight from Arizona to Sydney. Then we hopped in the car and drove up here to see you. But it's nice to sit down with my fellow Aussie. What is the deal with so many Aussies being big in the tech YouTube space? What is that?
I don't know. I think it's just there's less competition here, maybe, because like a brand will send hardware to Australia and then there's fewer people to send it out to. That's my guess. I think in America there's probably a lot more competition.
I think it's something in the water over here, Jarrod.
Could be.
But anyway, guys, great to see everyone, and we'll catch you later.